All right, we are going to start out this week with Rant and Random Thoughts. I have not done one for, say, almost 2 months because one of the strikes I got on the channel was for Rant and Random Thoughts video. And that's the last one that I did. That video is still out there. You can find it over on BitChute, which brings up a reminder to people. If you have not already bookmarked the address for the BitChute channel, do it. Because this channel over on YouTube can be taken down at any moment for any excuse they come up with. And as we've seen over the last 2 years, what counts as a violation of community guidelines is not enforced evenly. They enforce it one way for one batch of people and one way for another batch of people. Meaning you can be someone of a left-leaning political ideology and you can literally post videos calling for murdering people you do not agree with, attacking people you do not agree with, burning and destroying their property. That's allowable. But if someone that is right-leaning for their political ideologies, and right-leaning is meaning anyone who's to the right of Mao Zedong, that's how far leftists have now come these days. If you talk about anything, even condemning that other side from doing that stuff, you get a community guideline strike. And we're only allowed 2 strikes because technically as soon as that third one happens, you're gone instantly. And when you're gone, you're gone. You're never allowed to come back. So every single one of my videos has up in there at the top the Patreon channel address and also the address for the BitChute channel. Go over there, bookmark it. Hell, subscribe to the channel over there. More content gets loaded over there than gets loaded over here at YouTube. Example, we just got done with Halloween yesterday. Or excuse me, 2 days ago. Sorry, I slept most of yesterday because I had adult Halloween, which involved Asian ladies and large amounts of alcohol and nocturnal activities. Very vigorous nocturnal activities, so I kind of took yesterday off. So yeah, I'm that far out. But over holidays, I post movies over at BitChute. And this particular Halloween, the focus of the movies, the theme for the movies I was putting out was nuclear war. And we'll get to that in some of the stuff I have written up here. I have a few notes for what I want to cover during this. So bookmark the BitChute channel for just in case. You see this channel's gone, it's still going to be over there. And even if they take it down there, I'm still going to have Patreon, and I will find a different platform and do an announcement on Patreon as to what that new platform would be. Now, those of you that think that Rumble is a safe haven, no, it isn't. I'm permanently banned by them and have been for almost 2 years. Yes, they're a bunch of politicucks over at Rumble, and if they don't like what you want, they just outright ban you. And they do not have a single live person there you can talk to fight even a strike, let alone a ban. They are worse than YouTube. All right, so let's get into subjects for the Rant and Random Thoughts. What I have written down here. First off, how many of you have heard that the masked Nazis are now holding up a white flag and waving it above the trench, and they're calling for parley? Yes, these same people that for the last 2 fucking years have pushed a certain illness in our faces and how it's going to wipe out mankind if we don't bow down, kiss their feet, and do every fucking thing that they wanted. They now want us to be peaceful Christians, turn the other cheek, let bygones be bygones and forget about what they've put us through over the last 2 years. They still will not admit openly that, maybe they were wrong from the very fucking beginning, like we kept pointing out the actual fucking data from the CDC, WHO, and NIH, showing that the whole fucking thing was a goddamn farce. And they still will not admit or accept the data that is coming out now about people that got a certain shot and a massive increase of deaths. Whenever we talk about it, we actually cite the data, we get strikes. Even now, even though the media is talking about, there's a mysterious upticks of death in the United States and Europe, and we're not sure why. And it just so happens that the majority of these upticks in death, according to the data released by the health agencies in those countries, show that, mysteriously, these people got a particular shot for a particular illness that people have been running around and screaming that the sky is falling for the 2 years about. But we're not allowed to talk about that. I can't mention the name of it. I can't mention the names of any of the companies that have made the shot. I'm not even supposed to talk about all the politicians that have been getting huge amounts of fucking cash from these companies over the last 2 fucking years over this whole goddamn thing. You know what? My response to the mask Nazis on this is go fuck yourself. Stand over there in the corner while I make a noose over here to have it ready. I fully believe in the whole Nuremberg 2.0 that we should hold, and we should hold everyone responsible for this whole motherfucking mess. Put them through trial, lay out the fucking information, and let's watch them squirm at the defendant's table. And then when it's done, I want them picked up, whining and weeping from the table, dragged out the door into the courtyard, dragged up the steps to the gallows. That piece of rope put around their neck as they whine and plead and beg, please, please. I didn't know. I was trusting the science, even though the science was telling us from the very fucking beginning that it wasn't as bad as they were saying. And then, when that executioner walks up there, he grabs that handle, he throws it down, and that body does that long fall at the short end of the rope, and it starts a twitching. I'm going to be off on the side. Bravo! Bravo! More! Let's do this French Revolution style. Hey, why not? Let's bring out a fucking guillotine. These same people have talked about using it against us. Because of our Christian beliefs, because of believing in the Constitution, and the very rights that the Founding Fathers encoded for us in that Constitution, our God-given rights. They have openly talked about executing us for believing that stuff because they've called us extremists. Those of us that served in the military, talking about we're still bound by our oaths of enlistment. Oh, we're extremists and we should be sent off to prison because we want to honor our oaths even now after we're out. Let the blade fall. Stumph. And let that meat cabbage roll across the ground. I'll admit to you right now, every time I go to a store, I see a prick walking around with even a single mask. And yes, I'm still seeing people wearing 2 and 3 masks. It's fucking ridiculous. But whenever I see them, I always make sure to say loud enough that they can hear about how they want to be slaves, how they shit all over everything I and every other veteran has fought and some of us have died for. protecting freedoms for this country, that they are willing to be slaves so easily. I've had a few of them come up and say, well, I'm immune compromised. I have to do this. And I told them, really? How are you immune compromised? Because I personally have had cancer multiple times. I have no immune system, and I'm not walking around with a fucking diaper on my face. They really don't have much of a response then. They still try, but they realize that they're probably not going to win any points with me, and that entry in the Oppression Olympics is not going to count for a medal. They typically melt away. I mask shame them because of the last 2 fucking years where they have mask shamed us for refusing to wear a face diaper. My employer was big time on the whole thing of, oh, as soon as the federal mandate comes through that we got to get the shot, every one of you is going to have the shot or you're going to get fired that day. I told him, okay, I'm not getting a shot. I'm not getting a shot because I'm an anthrax shot survivor. You want to find a group of people where we have a huge death rate because of a shot? Go check into the anthrax shot. I outright told my employer, I am working here until you literally escort me out of the building to my vehicle and say, I'm done. I refuse to get that shot. And they said, well, that's on you. You're endangering everyone inside the building by not getting the shot. And you know what? Not a single one of those motherfuckers that said that shit to me in management will even enter a hallway that I am in. They see me on the floor of the facility, they automatically take a turn and walk away before they get anywhere near me. I'm going to take a drink here. No, it's not alcohol because I don't have any. It's not payday. I did splurge though, and I got myself an actual soda instead of the discount stuff from China Mart. So, should we let the masked Nazis have peace? Let bygones be bygones? My vote is hell fucking no! Okay, I'm going to move on to the next subject here. How about the election farce? Yes, we are within 7 days of the 2022 elections. How many of you truly believe there will not be shenanigans? And I'm not going to say which side is going to do the shenanigans. I have my suspicions on what's going to happen, but I can't outright say it because how many of you are aware Project Veritas recently, within the last 2 weeks, released a memo from the FBI telling law enforcement and, your local cops and also federal law enforcement that election misinformation and disinformation is interference in the elections. Criminal interference in the elections. I want you to keep that in mind. So now this government is saying that if we don't agree with their narrative on how safe and secure the elections are, and that the winner is the person that they say it is, if we contest that, well, we're committing illegal election activities. We're committing election crimes. The same as if we were standing there and we rolled in a cooler and mysteriously opened it up and we found a few hundred ballots inside. Or, we were driving a mail truck and we get caught, on the edge of town going through the bag, pulling out ballots and tossing them in the garbage or tossing them in the ditch. Or the same as, say, a person driving around in Minneapolis bragging on TikTok about paying people for their ballots to make sure that the candidate that that person is working for gets those votes. You know, apparently, you know, posting that you don't agree with the election, that you don't recognize that person as being the winner, that's now an election crime. And the FBI is advocating that we should be arrested and sent to jail. So how many of you believe the election next week is going to be free and secure? Seriously, how many of you? Go ahead, let me know in the comments. I have my personal belief. I know what the media is saying. They're talking about, oh, all the polls are showing it's going to be a red landslide. You know, the Republicans are going to sweep Congress. Well, I think it'll be a red landslide, but it won't be a Republican red. It'll be a communist red. I think magically the opposing party, the demon rats, are going to sweep the elections across the country. Magically, the polls were wrong, just like 2016. Oh, we're so sorry about that. You can try again in 2 more years. It's not like they're not pulling their dick out of their pants, slapping you up the face with it, leaving a big old shit-stained mushroom stamp on the side of your forehead. They're going to take that weenie, rub it across your lips and stuff as they talk about, we were wrong. It was a Democrat wave, not a Republican wave. Free, secure elections. Yeah, you like that? You like the taste? Huh? Yeah, you like that, don't you, bitch? Combat cameraman, pick yourself up off the floor. Put yourself together, man. You're an adult. Do I tell people that they shouldn't vote next week? No, that's your personal decision. I personally have a belief that the elections have already been decided, and who's going to win those elections has already been notified. Okay, let's move on to the next area that I have on the list here. And this area actually involves this stuff up here too. How many of you have heard the reports that there's going to be a diesel shortage in the United States by November? I know I've heard of it because I work in logistics. Diesel is kind of important to logistics. Diesel is the fuel for the trucks and the trains that hauls everything in this fucking country. There have been experiments by companies in the past to take a semi-truck, a tractor, and turn it over to electric powered. And you know what happens? Those fucking things run out of battery before they even reach their first drop. And then because of the size of the batteries that you need to move a fucking semi with a loaded trailer, it takes multiple days to recharge that fucking battery so that it can make it to its destination. Where once it is there, it has to recharge again for several days before it can continue on to its next drop. Now, I'm sure some people that aren't informed are saying, well, why should we worry about this? There'll be gasoline. You run out of diesel, just put the stuff in smaller vehicles and that are fueled by gasoline. Well, the answer to that's really simple. Guess what? That gasoline happens to be delivered to the fuel station by a semi that's fueled by diesel. So guess what? If there's no diesel, there isn't shit. You got nothing going to your stores, nothing going to your gas stations. You will have 0 medications or medical supplies going to hospitals. And you know what? A lot of the ambulances run on diesel also. Have you considered that? Now, my personal belief on this, because they're telling this like the way they are in the news, I have a feeling this diesel shortage is going to be caused on purpose. Because if they know this far out that they're going to be short on diesel, why aren't the refineries converting more of that production, that processing of crude oil from gasoline to diesel. Why is it no one is talking about that? All they're talking about is, oh, there isn't going to be enough diesel and we don't know how we're going to get it there. Well, typically in the past, you produced more of it. You knew there was going to be a shortage. Well, you kicked up the production just a little bit to make sure that you at least broke even. No one is talking about that. No one, period, anywhere. All they're talking about is we're going to run out of diesel in November, and then, prices are going to be going up and things are going to be getting hard. And you know what they're also talking about? They're talking about there's going to be a shortage of fuel for those of us that live in the country. People that rely on fuel oil and propane. They're talking about there's going to be a shortage of that this winter too. All of this is man-made. This is caused on purpose to do this for a particular reason. Why? I don't know. I'm not going to go off into the woods on that one right now. I could very easily, but I'm not going to. So what should you be thinking about? Maybe you should be thinking about stocking up for next year. And when I'm talking about stocking up for next year, I'm talking about you need to be thinking about Mad Max style living. You need to be thinking about total societal collapse, because how long do you think society is going to last without diesel fuel for trucks to deliver needed items placed everywhere this winter? Like your fuel oil to heat your home, like food, like gasoline so you can go to work to do your job. So, first off, start getting ready for your garden for next year. If you don't have one, but if you have the land on your property that you can plant a garden, get the materials. Get the fencing, the chicken wire garden fencing. It's still at the hardware stores. It's probably in back, but ask if they have some. If they don't have it, try ordering it online. Get the fence posts, the pickets that you're going to need. Get the tools. Get the shovels. Get the rakes. Get the hose. And yes, these little shovels come in handy too. And if you can come across it, this will be harder to find. Seeds. The seeds should be packed up right now, but you never know. You could come across some left somewhere that are seriously marked down. And when you do, mark the year on it that you get the stuff. If you can, try to find heirloom, not just GMO, because heirloom. Research it on how to harvest seeds from that plant so that you can take those seeds, those heirloom seeds, and plant them the next year. And then you keep, regenerating your crops. Get books on gardening. Watch videos on gardening. One of the easiest plants or vegetables you can put in the ground is a potato. And a potato supplies a hell of a lot of needed stuff for your body. I've actually heard theories that society really only came about, especially in Europe, when people learned how to domesticate the potato and plant it, especially Northern Europe. Because before that, it was barbarous, hunter-gatherer. Research it, get the tools. And don't just get one set, get two sets. Because you know what? The stuff that you're going to find in the stores now is garbage and it will break. I've gone through at least 3 hoes in my garden over the last 4 years. These were brand new ones from the store. The wood is not up to the challenge. They keep breaking. But I can get the old stuff from auctions that's decades old, goes on strong, keeps fighting. Now, along with that, manual tools. This is an old survivalist thing. Basic hand tools so you can do basic things around your house, around your property. Hammers, screwdrivers, drills. And yes, that's what this is. This is a hand drill. Uses the same bits like your electric one. It just requires a little bit of elbow grease. Saws. Screwdrivers. Basic tools. You don't have to go out there and get the specialist tool that's designed for only one single task. Get your multi-purpose tools that work for multiple things. Best place to get them is auctions. It's a little late in the year to go to garage sales for most of the United States. If you're down south, maybe you can still come across some. Get hand tools and maintain them. Another thing you should be thinking about getting, your basic fasteners, nails, drywall screws, staples. Also some materials, plastics, tarps. That comes in handy if you lose part of your roof or a window gets blown out because of weapons fire. I would say get lumber also if you can afford it, but lumber is ridiculously priced even now. I've heard prices are going down, but it's still in a range of, holy shit, that's expensive. You should already have the food. I and others have been telling you for the past 2 years, stock up on food, stock up on medical supplies, stock up on water, stock up on the means to purify water, stock up on fuels to stay warm in the winter in an emergency. Get the stuff to make things easier for you long term. Go over to Survival Blog. You know, do I really need to put a link in the description or anywhere on it? Everyone should know it. Survivalblog.com, James Wesley Rawls site. Go over there, read through his stuff. Go through there and click on his library link on the types of books he recommends. He'll have in there specific titles and authors. Go through, get some of those books. Make a survival blog library in your home. Now, I'm sure you're saying, well, I don't need to get the books. I'll just download it. Okay. You got a means to charge that computer or that phone if the power goes out? Paper don't need batteries. Paper you can pull out and read by candlelight, even inside a fallout shelter. Get the knowledge, get the tools. I'm not saying don't get information offline. I watch videos all the time, constantly looking at websites, trying to learn more. Go ahead and do that. You find something really important that you want to maintain for in the future, print it out. You know, put it inside a 3-ring binder so that you have it for quick reference later. Now, since we're up to reference, we're up to these here. Someone had asked me over at YouTube recommendations for where to look to find basic skills on things like patrolling, fighting positions, basic fieldcraft stuff. Here you go. Here's a good source to start with. First off, the U.S. Army's STP 21-1-SMT, Soldier's Manual of Common Tasks, or Soldier's Manual of Warrior Tasks. Start at the skill level 1. That's your basic private level. What years should you look for? The newest as possible. But I would say definitely 1994 and later. But you'd want to get the newest as possible because the newest has the latest information on newer weapon systems, electronics, and that type of stuff. But it also doesn't hurt to have a few of the old ones too, because there is differences between each edition. Another one that I still highly recommend here is FM 21-75 Combat Skills of the Soldier, 1984. Yes, it's dated. I'm aware of that. But it has one of the best sections you're going to find for urban warfare. It also has basic information on defenses, camouflaging. You know, you got in here cover, camouflage and concealment, fighting positions, movement, observation, nuclear, biological, chemical warfare, combat intelligence and counterintelligence, communications, and that is going to be the older stuff. That's going to be the Prick 77s and older field phones and stuff. And it also has in here first aid and personal hygiene. But it also has in here in the appendices mines, demolitions, obstacles, urban areas, meaning urban combat, tracking, survival, evasion and escape, weapons and fire control, and field expedient anti-armor devices. It's still relevant today, even though it's almost 40 years old. The radios and that stuff may have changed. The weapons somewhat have, but guess what? An M4 ain't too much different than the M16A1 you see this guy have in the fucking picture. These are two that I recommend. If you're looking for places to start for learning, these are good places to start. Okay, take another drink. Now, you've heard me twice now make references to, one, nuclear war in the movies that I posted over at BitChute, and I made the comment that you can read a book by candlelight even in a fallout shelter. That brings us into our next subject. How many of you have noticed, maybe you just ignored it or glossed over it, but the media in the United States is really playing up that nuclear warfare really isn't all that bad. And we'll survive it. It's not that bad. Oh, it'll be real terrifying, but once the blast is done, you're perfectly safe. Guess what? You're not. Fallout is the thing that'll kill you more than a blast will. Okay? Read up on it. The creator of, God, I can't remember the name of it. There's a book out there that's been around for decades, Nuclear War Survival Skills, I think is the title. You can find links to the stuff over on Survival Blog. Get a physical copy of it, even an older copy. The author just updated and released a new edition, and he made PDF copies of the older editions are now free that you can download. Read it. It's good to know information, because the powers that be are telling us they want a nuclear war, and they're telling you that, hey, you'll survive through it. All you got to do is take a shower. All you got to do is stay indoors. Well, both of those are part of it, but there's more to nuclear war survival skills than just taking a shower and staying inside. Get the information, read up on it. Do I think we're going to have a nuclear war over the shit in Ukraine? Doubtful, but who knows? Now, coming in another one into Ukraine, and this is going to be the last one that I'm going to go into. This one had my jaw dropping, but over the last 72 hours, Voldemort, President Hitler of Ukraine, has said that Ukraine is considering deploying autonomous drones with basic artificial intelligence, saying that his engineers have developed the stuff, it's battlefield ready, and they're going to start deploying it on the battlefield. Release the drone, and that drone will hunt Russian targets and take them out without any verification or control required by a human operator. That should scare the fuck out of you. And you know what? He's full of shit. There's no way in hell the fucking Ukrainians have developed this. This has to be our older technology that we have given them, so that we can see how this stuff will actually work on the battlefield. Now, if you're not over at Patreon, I have linked to articles on this stuff where they've talked about it for the last couple months here, about new combat drones coming out by the Chinese, the United States, and that stuff, that all they need is artificial intelligence. Well, guess what? Here we're being told they already have it. There's been rumors in the U.S. military and also over in the survivalist and conspiracy theory communities for at least 20 years that the U.S. military does have autonomous combat drones with basic AI, and that they were made, or at least some of the models of them were deliberately made to look like something straight out of the Terminator movies, so that when you would see it, you're going to get that automatic fear and freeze up and give that drone time to take you out. And also, by making the stuff look like something off the set of a Terminator movie, if anyone were to ever release photographs of it, they can easily deny it and say, oh, those are props from Hollywood. That person is full of shit. Okay? How do we fight against them? One of my patrons asked me that. I told him I don't know. I really don't, because I don't have the specifics on those drones. And I do worry about them quite a lot. I would recommend, though, for ammunition and weapons, figure some type of .30 caliber and armor-piercing ammunition. Okay, until we would actually come across a Terminator-like autonomous drone moving across the battlefield hunting us down, we're not going to know what that thing can do, how well it's armored. Well, I got to get going here because Combat Cameraman's pointing out the time. We got shit we got to do yet tonight that is very time sensitive. So I am going to cut it off. Hey, you like what I do? Come over to Patreon, kick me $1 or $2, $5 or $10, your choice. You know, become a patron and you can contact me on the backside. And remember, bookmark the BitChute channel. Now, for all my engineer brothers in the Patriot and militia communities, always remember, essay ons.